Hi guys, I'm in London with the man that is currently opening for the Shires on their UK tour. It's Mr. Canaan Smith.
Hey,
Canaan,
how you doing, man?
Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Is this your first time in London?
This is my first trip over,
Yeah.
and I love it, man. It's off to an incredible start. This is a great town, great energy to it. I like how alive everything feels. Last night we walked around Oxford Street and did that whole thing, and hit up some bar. I forget the name of the bar, but it had the word pig in it. I know that, and you go underground to get there. So that was pretty cool.
Is this something you've always wanted to do, to come over and play in the UK?
No, this is not just a story that I'm making up. But when I was 12 years old, I learned to play guitar, and I made a commitment to myself to come over here one day. That was sort of the ultimate goal for me, to be able to play music in England in particular, but the UK. Just a dream of mine. Some of my heroes like the Beatles and Oasis. Those were bands I was listening to when I was learning to play guitar, and so they came from this part of the world, and I was like, I gotta follow in their steps and make this a frequent stop of mine. And so here we are, the first of many to come.
That's awesome. There seems to be like an influx of country artists coming over to the UK recently. Do you think it's now become a market that people really want to target in the UK?
Absolutely. I mean, I can sense already just from the first two shows we've done that the fans are they're rabid fans. They love country music, and they respect what we do, and they appreciate it, and they let us know that from the stage. They're singing our songs, even album cuts that are not singles. They're singing, and nothing is more rewarding as an artist than to come halfway around the world and people are singing songs they shouldn't even otherwise know, and to sing. And it's just an amazing feeling. I'll be back for sure.
That's awesome. And do you think there's a difference in the audiences over here to maybe back home? I asked this to a lot of people and get various answers. So.
It's a different reception altogether. The experience is a little different. The first two shows we've done on this tour were in bars, and usually back home a bar can get pretty rowdy. The crowd is talkative. Even though they're having a good time, it can be a little noisy. And this trip over, it's an acoustic rendition of my songs, and so I was thinking, oh man, we're going to play a couple bars just acoustic. I wonder how that's going to go. Or you could hear a pin drop. They're so respectful as an audience. They're attentive, and they hang on every word that you say. And again, that's another rewarding feeling as an artist. To be on stage and have people listening to what you're saying is the ultimate goal. So it's a great thing.
A lot of people will obviously know you from Love You Like That, but tell us a little bit about the Canaan Smith story before that and how you kind of got into country music.
Sure, man. I'm from Virginia. I grew up in a little historic town called Williamsburg, Virginia, and it was nestled in between the mountains and the ocean. And Bristol, Virginia, which is on the state line between Virginia and Tennessee, is where country music originated. The mountain music of country music of Virginia is where country originated. So that trickled its way down and influenced me, and also the music that was coming from the ocean found its way into what I do. And so it's an eclectic thing for me. Music is a wide range of influences, and it finds its way into my music. I moved to Nashville once I figured I had a sound of my own, and I had written enough songs to take it to somewhere to be heard. I moved to Nashville 12 years ago, and I've been there just pounding pavement since, man, and signed a record deal not too long ago, and the rest is history. I'm honored to do what I love, but I'm just getting started, man. There's so much more I want to accomplish.
What's it like moving to Nashville as like the new kid on the block? Because there's so much competition out there. I can imagine it's quite a challenge.
It can be overwhelming just because there's so much talent in that town. And to just be a part of the family, the country music family, is an honor. What's beautiful about it is that we all collaborate and that we all pull for one another for the most part. And that's a great communal feeling, when you actually have people supporting you and pulling for you. It kind of spurs you to become the best person, the best version of yourself that you can, and stay creative and stay on top of your game.
And your work as a songwriter first became recognised when Love and Theft recorded Runaway, didn't it?
Right.
So did you already know the guys before that, or did they just pick up on the song and love it?
I knew the guys beforehand, and we were playing on a softball team back home together, and one random day decided to write a song, and it ended up being their first single. And I wrote songs on the regular at that stage in my life. I was writing probably 4 songs a week, and that just happened to be one that stood out in the crowd and that they really thought that they could make something of. So they recorded it, and it became a top 10 radio single, which was and it was their first release, and it was my first release as a songwriter. And so it's good to have have momentum like that, because one thing leads to the next in that town. And once you establish yourself with a little bit of success, you can build on that. And so that was a building block, a foundation building block that was important in my career.
With songs like that, is it quite difficult to give it away at times? Is there a part of you that thinks, I want to keep this for myself?
Yeah, that one in particular, because I was chasing the record deal at the same time they were, and I was a big fan of that song. But something in me said, don't hold too tightly. There's more songs, and there will be more songs, and this is an opportunity that's here now, and it seemed to be foolish to ignore that.
So you signed with Mercury Nashville now. So how did that come about? Kind of when you're a new kid on the block in Nashville, how did it lead to a record deal?
Once I wrote Runaway, I had some notoriety as a writer, at least enough to be able to get in the room with some more established writers and some people with some really tremendous success as songwriters, and that allowed me to get in the room with a guy named Brett Beavers, who ended up producing my first album. And so we just wrote a bunch of songs regularly together, and pretty soon stacked up enough songs that felt very unique. And I looked at him one day and said, "Why don't you produce me and let's go for a record deal?" And he said, "Really, you want me?" And I said, "You're the guy, man. Let's do it." So we worked together, and along with Jimmy Robbins and Ryan Tyndall, we came up with a really cool sound for this first album. And Bronco is something I'm really proud of.
Obviously, the big moment for you was Love You Like That, wasn't it, when that came out, and it became a massive smash hit. So that must have been a crazy time for you when that came out.
Just an unbelievable feeling, man. When we wrote that song, we didn't know it would have the influence that it does. To this day, it's still influencing and impacting people. And I think at the core of it, it's just that it's an honest approach to just having feelings for somebody, but it's not in a typical way. We use these metaphors that I feel like even the tough guys can relate to. Strong as a fifth of whiskey is a metaphor that any girl thinks is incredibly strong, and guys are not afraid to associate themselves with whiskey. So things like that made this song sticky, and memorable, and it's just blown my mind, the amount of audience that it's reached, and it still reaches on a regular basis. So I hope that the next song does the same thing. We're just going to do our best to, me as an artist and as a songwriter, and my producers that I work with, to make sure that we're always staying authentic to who I am, and hopefully that'll resonate.
And you've been on some amazing tours with some pretty good artists, haven't you? I mean, Dirk's been. I mean, we saw you on the Dirks tour last year in California.
Right.
We came and saw you. I mean, you've been on tour with Dan and Shay, Yana Kramer.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's it like to be out on the road with these people? What can you gain as an artist?
I'm a sponge out there. I try to be a sponge where I soak up everything. Just be a student of the art. I stand side stage and watch them perform, and see what reacts with their crowd, and learn how to sort of take bits and pieces of their show and apply it to what I do in my own way and put my own spin on it. And so, yeah, man, it's just been an amazing experience touring with guys like Brantley Gilbert and Dierks Bentley, Kip Moore, just to name a few, because everybody has something new to offer, and everybody has something different that works, and it's fun to kind of study that and make it my own.
I bet jumping into a freezing cold lake wasn't too fun, though, was it?
What's that?
Bet jumping into a freezing cold lake with Dierks Bentley wasn't too much fun. I
still owe Dierks for that when he initiated me and Maddie and Tay and Kip Moore when he took us on tour 2 summers ago. The initiation prize was to jump in a freezing lake on New Year's Day. So, still owe you, buddy.
Awesome, Dierks. And from the Bronco album, you released 2 singles, Hole in the Bottle as well. Is there a plan to release another one, or are you looking towards another project?
That's up in the air right now. There's a song that we're still really excited about from that album called One of Those, and it may or may not be the next single. I've also got a slew of new songs that are already recorded and almost ready to go, and so we're kind of on that cusp right now, deciding, do we hang on for one more or come with something new, and so ask me again in a couple months. I'll have a better answer for you.
And you got the chance to do your own headlining tour as well last year with Russell Dickerson.
Yeah.
So tell us all about that.
That was my first headlining tour in the States, and that was just an amazing experience, man, because up until that point, as an opener, you're not responsible. really for the crowd or how the night goes altogether. You're responsible for your time on stage, but all in all, it's the headliner who brings the people to the show, and so that was my first time being responsible for all that stuff and having my own lights and production, and it was just an incredible responsibility I didn't take lightly, and to this day I don't. I just finished my second headlining tour in the States, and I brought a guy named Michael Tyler out with me, and he's a great new artist on the rise, and it was the same thing, man. We just built on what we did last year, and you can see the fans are just appreciating the amount of time and energy we put into making it the best show we can make it, and it pays off in the end. So a lot more of that to come.
Now, coming back to this UK tour, obviously with the Shires, who have just signed their own record deal themselves, they're with Big Machine now. So this is an amazing opportunity for you to reach a new fan base, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's something I am just overwhelmingly grateful for. I couldn't have gotten here on my own. They opened the door for me, and I'm going to make the most of the opportunity.
And you mentioned that you're doing it acoustically, so is that something that you're used to doing, or is it a little bit different?
I don't play acoustic shows very often at all, unless they're radio shows. But yeah, I've been a full band for the last year and a half or 2 years, just loud rock and roll shows, And so this is a different look for us and a different feel altogether, but it's refreshing, man, and I like the intimate feeling that it gives me and the crowd to connect. That time to connect is easier, it seems. Especially with a crowd that's so attentive, you don't have to fight for their attention, so it pays off.
What's the plan for the next year or so for you now in terms of new music or touring?
I'm touring all next year. Again, I'm going to stay in front of my fans and make sure that the new music is getting heard and let them know how appreciative I am of their support. So we have plans to tour starting in February, all throughout next year, 2017.
Awesome. Well, best of luck with the rest of the UK tour with the Shires, and it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thanks
awesome.
so much, man.
Signing out from London.